whether Congress says yes or not.
The president just said that he's going to present a plan to Congress and work with Congress, and then we'll make some final determinations.
And if they say no, which they almost certainly will.
I'm not an if-then guy, Chris. I'm a guy that No, he wasn't at all. He again, you and I may have watched a different clip, but what I just saw the president say...
I'm going to wait and see what they do before I say anything about my executive authority.
Correct.
But you're saying they're going to close it, one way or the other.
I said we're going to close it. He just said he's going to present a plan to Congress to do that. And we're going to do it because it's too expensive.
All right, so they're talking, welcome back, that's the Chief of Staff of the President of the United States talking about how one way or another Obama's going to get Gitmo closed. Joining us now is Sharyl Attkisson, Emmy Award-winning journalist, host of Full Measure with Sharyl Attkisson, author of Stonewalled. Good to talk to you, Sharyl. How are you?
I'm great. Thank you so much.
And I came out with that because I know that you're going to be doing a whole big piece talking about Gitmo.
Yes, on this Sunday. It's very interesting to hear that because Senator Lindsey Graham told me that absolutely not, that will never happen, not going to happen, period. So I don't know who's right, but they both are dug in over Guantanamo Bay. Yeah, well, this is one of the executive orders that, you know, I guess many fear are coming down the road. So what angle are you going to be looking at? I mean, I understand there's a transfer of 10 prisoners either taking place today or tomorrow. I mean, he's all intent on however he could do it to get it done. Well, Lindsey Graham says the president is delusional if he thinks this is the time to shut down Guantanamo Bay. That's a quote. But it's a matter of authority, and Congress has tried to restrict the president's authority to bring prisoners here and to do other things, but the president has made it clear that he will go outside Congress's authority and sometimes even what some think is outside the law to accomplish what he wants to accomplish. So I think it's an interesting showdown. We will also have a fascinating interview with the man who headed the CIA team who put some of the original detainees in Guantanamo, some of the most dangerous men on the field, some of the real bad Taliban guys. Wow. And he will reflect his thoughts on all of this. And you also had a story, I think last week, if I'm not mistaken, about the non-response to the Benghazi attacks. Yes, we really put together some fascinating, new, and sad information that lends idea to the claims of a rescue interrupted. Very timely with the film coming out 13 hours this week with the CIA guys that say they were delayed from responding less than a mile away when they could have helped. But we also spoke to sources and have some email evidence that talks about special forces that were not far away in Europe that were, we are told, assigned to respond in the event of a case just like this, and yet were turned back, according to witnesses. This is something that the President of the White House has steadfastly denied, but there's now what I would call an overwhelming body of evidence that leads us to believe somebody stopped a number of teams and potential rescuers from entering Libya or going to Benghazi to help while those attacks were underway, and that they could have gotten there, according to experts and people who have information that we spoke to. They could have gotten there before the last 2 Americans died. Those attacks went on for 8 hours. And do they speculate as to why or who might have stopped these rescue attempts? Yes, to some degree. I mean, we spoke to, again, a CIA team leader expert and an anti-terrorism expert who say the only person who stops those forces that spin up automatically without waiting to be told, the only force is the commander-in-chief / the White House, some authority that comes from him. So they claim that there's no way those forces that we now know from an internal email that was withheld for 3 years, we now know forces were spun up, as the military said, to go into Benghazi. And we know they didn't make it. And so from the evidence we have and witnesses and sources, they were turned back because the authority never came for them to cross that border to go into Libya. And that's the White House, they believe? That would be, they say, where the authority comes from or doesn't come from. It's the only place. Nikki Haley gave the response to the State of the Union yesterday, the governor of South Carolina, and she's gotten mixed reviews. Donald Trump said Nikki Haley is weak on immigration, not, quote, very good to be my vice president. After many thought this was an audition for her to be vice president. And she attacked Trump. She admits she attacked Trump last night. You have talked to some people, establishment Republicans, and her name has come up. Talk about that. I would just say, you know, I'm not a political analyst or pundit, but I've spoken to a number of people that many would consider establishment Republicans, and it's become clear to me that for them at least, they've abandoned Jeb Bush now, they want Marco Rubio, and they think that Nikki Haley should be vice president. So that's sort of where the energy and force on their part is going.
Wow. And why have they abandoned Bush, did they say? They just consider him hopeless at this point?
I didn't poke and probe. It's just, you know, my my experience in intelligence leads me to think that they're looking at those poll numbers and decided that they need another horse to back in this race.
Rubio Haley. Very interesting. Rubio Haley. You never know. Sharyl, we'll watch you. Always great to talk to you. Thank you for the information, and we'll speak to you soon.
All right. Thanks, Steve.
That's Sharyl Attkisson, ladies and gentlemen. Up next, panel with Jim Hoft and Noah Rothman. Don't go away.